I turned 18 and lost a bet on the same day. My name, at least the one on school records, is Eli Navarro. 2 weeks ago my parents changed the locks like it was a home makeover show. The surprise reveal was me on the porch with a suitcase. They'd been getting colder since I told them I like boys. I tried bargaining like a kid who hasn't learned that love isn't a contract. I'd get a job, I'd pull my grades even higher, I'd even humor their counselor at St. Bridget's who called himself a healer of wayward desires. They didn't want negotiations, they wanted a version of me that never existed. Friends. Turns out, forever means, until it costs me something. I had a little cash from birthdays and Christmas cards. It evaporated into motel carpet and vending machines. The college I'd dreamed about became an email thread where I tried to explain how you fill out federal forms when your parents won't sign anything and you don't have an address. I withdrew with a polite sentence and enough dignity to hate myself quietly. The town I left had more, for lease, signs than grocery stores. I bought a bus ticket to Grayford, a nearby city big enough to swallow me and maybe spit out a job. I won't put it on a map. The way things have gone, it doesn't matter, if it's happening here, it's happening everywhere. On day one I pressed my shirt under a bathroom hand dryer, scrubbed my sneakers with paper towels, and introduced myself to rejection. No one wants to hire a teenager whose life smells like bleach and rain. Even if you talk your way into an interview, the bus fare and shower tokens keep you poor on purpose. I learned the geography of places you can't sleep, parks with roving security, storefront alcoves that turn hostile when the world wakes up, benches that become stages for bored cruelty. I learned to make my face blank when cars full of laughs slowed down just enough to throw something. Pride kept me from panhandling. Pride also kept me hungry. Pride is funny like that. Shelters were full or prioritizing women and families, which I don't begrudge, but there's a hard silence in the word prioritize when you're not the priority. I followed a trail of advice that sounded like folklore, ask under the East End, look for the blue tarps, and found the Mercury Overpass, where the freeway holds itself up on rusted stilts and people hold themselves together with string. Under Mercury, the world is reduced to steel and weather and the thinness of tents. The overpass groans when semis cross like whales overhead. The sound gets into your bones and never fully leaves. Fences ring the space and someone has hung blue tarps to hide our lives from the lanes above. It's a city of shopping carts and milk crates, of broken strollers repurposed into luggage racks, of handwritten signs that ask and apologize at the same time. You can tell who's new by what they still carry. I had a suitcase that rolled loudly over gravel, drawing looks. I dragged it to the center pier, a concrete pillar tattooed with old tags and fresh warnings, and I was squinting at a dry patch of dirt when the whole encampment seemed to inhale at once. Voices shortened. Zippers ran. Tent flaps closed like eyelids. "You got somewhere to be?" a voice rasped. I turned and saw a tent the size of a duffel bag and a man the size of a problem. He hacked into a fist and gestured at the flap. "Room for one more if you fold yourself twice." Before I could answer, a woman moved between us, a flicker of yellow plastic and purpose. "No, Nate." Her tone was a broom. She looked me over, counting bruises I hadn't realized I wore. "You sure you got nowhere else?" No one had asked that without judgment in their voice. "No," I said. No. "Name?" "Eli." "I'm Marla." She pushed her flap aside. Her tent was a bruised sunflower, bright once, now bandaged with duct tape. Inside, a cot, a dented oil lamp, a crate of canned food, a shopping cart full of everything you can't throw away yet. A thrift store Afghan softened the ground, a little island. "You can sleep on the floor by the cart," she said, as if we were discussing seating arrangements at a family dinner. "But you've got to learn the rules." "Rules?" I tried to make a joke. "Do they come printed on the tarp?" "Listen." The word changed the air. She held up 3 fingers. "1, they come out when the sun sets. They go back when the sun rises. 2. Don't let them know you're here. If they mark you, you don't get a second chance. 3. No matter what you hear, you do not go outside. Not for a voice. Not for a name. Not for crying or screaming or prayers. You understand? Who are they? I asked, the word thin as I said it. We'll talk tomorrow. She started layering blankets on the cot like a ritual. Tonight you sleep. Midnight's when it's worst. You don't want to be awake for worst. I'd slept in bus stations and behind dumpsters that still smelled like breakfast, and you pick up a certain crouched posture with that life, a readiness to sprint. But Marla's tent felt like a place a person could be for 8 hours without explaining themselves. That was new. She had a voice like the first warm day after a long winter, thin sunshine, but sunshine all the same. I slid into the sleeping bag on the floor and told myself I'd keep one eye open. Sleep hourglassed me anyway. What wakes you at night under an overpass isn't silence, it's the stagecraft of it. Something turned off all the small sounds at once. Dogs that normally barked, paused, then started up again in a higher register, like they'd noticed God had left the room. I opened my eyes into a plastic darkness where the outside world showed up as warped shadows. Streetlights cast an amber that didn't feel warm. Before I saw anything, my skin registered it, static. The way air gets right before lightning introduces itself. The tent material took a breath without moving. Then the smell arrived. Rot not like garbage, that's a city smell you can live with, but rot like a mass grave under wet soil. It hit the back of my tongue like thinking of pennies. I told myself not to look, and I looked. A silhouette shuffled along the line of tents. Human height, but hunched like someone trying to hide an extra spine. Arms too long, swinging low so the fingers could have brushed the ground. Hair in ropes. A muzzle where a nose should be, wolfish, but wrong in the way a mask carved from bad memory is wrong. Every step carried the patience of something that never had to hurry. It paused by our tent. My body made itself small without my permission. The shape tilted, listening to the fabric, then moved on, noiseless in the way nightmares are noiseless even when they're loud. I didn't sleep. Marla did, a hand under her cheek like a portrait from a time when people still painted each other. Dawn was slow to show itself. When it finally spilled over the tarps and the city remembered how to be a city, she sat up, squinted at me, and said, "Morning, kid. I didn't get your name." "Eli." I waited a beat. I saw something. She didn't ask what. She went to a crate, handed me a bottle of water, took one for herself, and waited like a nurse who knows the bad news already. It was, tall but not tall. "Wrong tall," I said. Long arms, bent back. Hair. A snout. It smelled like something dead under a church. She sipped, nodded once. "That kind we call stupors. There's others." "Others?" "I don't know what they are," she said plainly, which is a sentence I trust more than any sermon. "They started coming up from the drains after the fires out west. First it was far from here. Then it was everywhere we weren't looking at. The city knows. The cops know. But what are they going to do, ticket the sewers? What do they do?" I asked. "You don't want to know." She saw my face and softened. "Noise draws them. Fear smells like food. If you're still and asleep, they usually pass. Then why stay here?" I swept a hand at the tarps, the rust, the little city of the unwanted. "Why not leave?" Her laugh had no fun in it. "Where would we go? This is the one place the cops don't make a project out of us. And don't kid yourself, people talk about them in Cleveland, in Mesa, in Tallulah. You leave a shadow, it follows. People try to fight them. Old Jacob says he heard of a guy who shot one until the gun was just a clicking little idiot. It didn't fall. He did. I blinked. You're saying guns don't. I'm saying talking about them makes them listen, she cut in, calm and firm. We don't need hello from the dark. Eat. We split a can of beans like communion. After, she asked for my story and I gave her the child-safe version. She didn't intrude on the holes. She didn't make it about her. No one teaches you how wholly simple listening can be. I tried to sleep when night fell again. I even pretended faith in the idea. But the air does the same trick at the same time and your body remembers before your mind can lie to it. The static came back. The dogs tuned to fear. The smell salted the back of my throat. A dog barked close, a clear, kind voice. Rufus, a man hissed from outside, trying to keep panic from becoming a sound. Rufus, come. A shape darted past our flap, tail a metronome. Rufus squared off against a taller silhouette than last night's. The new one had talons that curled under like sickles. The swipe was fast and casual. Rufus became two noises and then none, and something wet hit our tent and ran. Rufus, the man yelled, and his voice broke hard on the F. He appeared in the light like a cautionary tale, swinging a length of pipe. He hit the shape once, clang, which made the shape interested, not hurt. It grabbed his throat and pushed him forward, through our wall, and suddenly there was man and monster in our tent, and me under both. Up close, you stopped thinking in words. The thing's head was bald and dappled in blood, its eyes ice with nothing underneath, its smile a row of knives set too perfectly. It opened that mouth and a black tongue unspooled, studded with little barbs, and slid into the man's open scream until the scream became a gurgle. I didn't move. I would have been a good statue in a former life. Marla moved for both of us. She grabbed my arm, covered my mouth, and pulled. We ran into a maze of tents where everyone had decided that survival was a matter of not being a witness. She cut left, then right, then ducked at a rusted sedan draped in blue tarp. Under, she whispered. Now. Whatever you hear, you don't come out. Not even if it sounds like me. Dawn is your yes. I slid under the car and let oil and dust turn my clothes legitimate. Through a rip in the tarp I watched her pick up the pipe, plant her feet like a coach had taught her how to do it once. The voice that came next sounded like a recording of the dead man's last syllables played through an animal's throat. It said, Rufus, dragging the word into something children tell each other at sleepovers. It pattered toward us on all fours, not because it had to, but because it enjoyed the game of it. Marla swung the moment it appeared, a brave, clean line. The thing caught the pipe like someone snagging a baguette at a market. Its other hand closed around her throat and lifted her as if to admire how the feet kicked before they didn't. Then the tongue again. That obscene, patient tongue. I shut my eyes and put my fingers in my ears and told myself breathing is optional. After the gurgling ended, it took a while for the footsteps to make decisions. I heard the car roof bend. I held still while it moved above me, the metal groaning as it tested whether weight meant ownership. It stayed long enough to teach the night how clocks work. Then the weight left. The walking moved away, an insultingly unhurried rhythm. When the sky turned the color of a bruise about to heal, I risked a look. The thing had walked 10 paces, then turned its head as if to check the math of fear. It slow grinned at the tarp rip and kept going with the satisfied gait of a predator that has leftovers. I stayed under the car until the concrete started burning through my clothes. Skin is very persuasive. When I finally rolled out, the encampment had gathered by the entrance. Police had arrived in a cluster of lights and loud voices, along with men in black suits who moved like they were allergic to dust. Back up, folks, nothing to see, a bullhorn said, which was nonsense. There's always something to see, you just can't say you saw it. Yellow tape went up around a tent I didn't want to name out loud. Detectives did the posture thing. Near the periphery, 2 beat cops muttered the way stagehands do when the director isn't listening. Another one, the tall one said. Think the suits know what's doing this?" The other snorted. "It's either some Jack the Ripper cosplay or it's aliens, man. I'm taking aliens. Feels less personal." The tall one scanned the crowd and jabbed his chin at me. "Hey, kid with the blood. Stop right there." And that's where I learned the fourth rule, the one no one writes down: if the monsters don't get you, someone will try to. The crowd opened the way the sea does in bad movies, by order, not by miracle. 2 cops moved in from the flanks, and one shouted, "Hands where I can see, M." I did the math wrong and lifted them too fast. Something behind me cracked like a board breaking, a bystander went down as if a string had been cut. Everyone jolted and then did the most human thing, looked away. In the second where the world flinched, a shoulder hit my ribs and we went to the ground together, me and a cop in a tangle of knees and apology. "Easy, kid," he said with his mouth near my ear, as if he didn't want anyone to know he was still a person. The other cop had the cuffs out. The metal found my wrists with the clack of a door deciding. Then the suits arrived from the tape line, unbothered by both grief and chain of command. The one in front was bald in a way that was deliberate, not genetic, a scalp that shone under the scene lights, skin so translucent I could have studied anatomy on it. Black sunglasses at night, not as a joke, but as policy. No badge, only a lanyard with a symbol my eyes didn't want to memorize. "He's with us," he said to the cops, voice pitched at that careful volume people use when they're used to winning. The tall cop kept his hand on my arm. "Like hell. We caught him. He's ours." "You're doing crowd control," the bald man said without changing expression. "We're doing containment. Different verbs." "We do jurisdiction too," the other cop snapped. "And you don't have any." The bald man tipped his head as if listening to an earpiece I couldn't see. "Sergeant Willis, Channel 3 says you do," he said mildly, and watched the color go out of the tall cop's face. "Thank you for your service," he added in a tone that wasn't grateful. "We'll take custody." The cuffs came off my wrists without anyone saying why. A gloved hand took my elbow and made the act of walking not an option but an agreement. We moved through a lane the suits parted without touching anyone. The encampment made the noise crowds make when they've decided their lives are safer if they don't become witnesses. Up close, the bald man smelled like cold air. "Name?" he asked as if he were filling a form in his head. "Eli." "Mr. Navarro," he said, correctly, and it took me a second to resent that he knew my last name. "I'm Holbrook." He didn't offer a hand. He didn't need to. "We're going to talk." They put me into a black van that was neither a police van nor anything that wanted to be mistaken for one. Inside, a row of gray seats facing a blank wall, a bench along the side with 2 belts that were not seatbelts. The windows were the kind you tint not to shade a passenger but to erase a view. Mr. Holbrook sat across from me, opened a laptop, and became 2 men at once, the one in the chair and the one reflected in the mirrored black of his glasses. In the reflection, his eyes were little bright coins. He scrolled through photographs that didn't want to be seen, crime scene wide shots with yellow tents and little numbered flags, close-ups where the human body had been turned into a lesson about how many ways there are to fail a person. I stopped trying to be brave and stared at my shoes. He turned the screen so it caught me in the corner of my eye. "Better from this angle?" he asked, mild. "I'm sorry," I said, with the reflex of apologizing to power for existing. He smiled just enough to show competence, not kindness. "You'll do fine." The van moved. It smelled like a brand new hospital wing that hadn't learned fear yet. No siren. No hurry. We took turns that made no sense and then stopped in a place that didn't sound like street. A door opened to quiet and concrete. Someone pulled a hood over my head. It wasn't dramatic, no roughness, but it was final. They guided me by the elbow down a corridor where sound did that big-shouldered, damp thing that says underground. We turned left, right. I tried to count steps and lost the number when my heart got greedy with oxygen. The hood came off in a room so plain it felt expensive, a table, 2 chairs, no camera I could find even though there had to be 3. The kind of fluorescent light that makes your skin look honed. Mr. Holbrook sat, set the laptop down closed, and folded his hands like we were about to negotiate a mortgage. Eli Navarro, 18, last known address Glenview. Kicked out, recent arrival to Grayford, no current employment. He didn't read from anything. He recited me. Kicked out for being gay, I said, because owning the word sometimes takes the weapon out of it. He nodded at the table. People with standards often have limits on who qualifies as people, he said, not like a political slogan, but like a weather report. You walked into something most citizens will never see and fewer will ever be allowed to understand. That's not your fault. It's useful, though. For who? I asked. For us, he said. And maybe for you if you learn to listen. He didn't start with the thing under the car or the tongue or Marla's name. He started with small talk engineered to make me forget it was an engine. Any allergies? Anything I should avoid offering you? Coffee? Water? Water, I said. My mouth felt like chalk. He slid a bottle across. The cap broke with that plastic pop that always feels like the beginning of something official. I drank in careful sips so my body wouldn't betray how much it wanted everything. When you first noticed it, what changed first? Sound, smell, temperature? He asked as if we were diagnosing a furnace. Sound, I said. Like someone turned off the small noises. Then dogs. Then smell. Then the feeling like static. He nodded as if my answers were confirmations on a menu. And the shape you saw last night, arms to the knees, talons, snout. And the one the night before had hair and a hunched back, long arms but no talons I could see, I said, hearing that I already accepted categories. Good, he said. Classification isn't for comfort. It's for not dying. What are they? It came out too fast. He exhaled in a way that made you think he hadn't needed to in 10 minutes. You want a name so your head will stop spinning. Call them subterrans, call them vermin, call them knockers if you like old mine folklore. Give them a word and it feels like a fence. But words don't hold teeth. So you don't know, I said. We know enough, he said. They migrate. They follow pressure and heat. The fires pushed entire systems underground and sideways. Stormwater drains became highways. Every city with a map under it has traffic. Then why only at night? I asked. He looked pleased like a teacher whose student had asked the question that moves the lesson forward. Because night is when we don't look. Because temperature and smell and the way we use light changes at night. Because they hunt by rules we don't write. Likely all of the above. People try to fight them, I said. Guns. Work when the story wants them to, he said. Sometimes you slow one down. Sometimes you enrage it. It's not a zombie and it's not a wolf. You can't buy the right gear off a listicle. Do you know why the homeless population learned the rule before anyone else? Because they live outside, I said. Because they learned listening the hard way. Because no one comes when they scream, he said, and for the first time there was something like heat in his voice. So they adapt. He leaned back, put his shoes on the rung of the chair, and watched me think. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Why tell anyone anything if you're the kind of people who put hoods on kids in vans? He let the quiet sit long enough to make me feel the weight of the room. Because secrecy isn't a religion for us, it's a tool. Sometimes information is also a tool. You saw too much to be put back among the unbriefed. You can either be dangerous by accident or useful on purpose. I don't want to be either, I said, and meant it. He smiled a small, almost sad smile, the kind you give a child who just learned what taxes are. You don't get to choose whether the world is what it is, he said. You get to choose how much you know while you're in it. He let me tell the part about Marla without interruptions. I told it flat, because if you give tragedy cadence it starts to feel like you're performing it for applause. When I said her name the first time, his eyes flicked to a place on the table as if he could pin the word there. When I finished, he didn't say I'm sorry. He said, she's the kind that keeps the species going, one brave decision at a time for people who will never learn her name. You keep a ledger? I snapped, heat surprising me. Who counts it? Who decides who's brave? He took the hit. No one, he said. It doesn't get counted. That's the point and the wound. He reached into a pocket and slid a card across. It had no name, just a number and a mark that felt like a signature done by a hand that didn't like curves. If you ever want her not to have died in a place only we remember, call it. We sponsor burials when the city won't. We sponsor names when the county prints John Doe because the living can't pay. I stared at the card until it blurred. Timeline, he said, business returning like a coat shrugged back on. First night, stupor type passes tense, second night, Talon type kills a dog, kills a man, kills your host. Both nights you feel barometric change and smell organ rot. Both nights you have the sense that stillness is not a suggestion but a protocol. Yes, I said. We didn't create that rule under the overpass, he said. We just listen to the people who already obeyed it. They don't call us, but we monitor the way hospitals monitor a fever. I said. Government? His smile didn't change, but the kindness walked out of it. We're not the branch that waves flags in parades, he said. We're the repair guys under the stage. Sometimes the stage collapses. Sometimes we manage to hold a beam up long enough for the show to finish. So, not the government, but also not the government. Call it a consortium, he said. Foundations, agencies, a few companies that don't advertise on buses. We use public money when we can get it, private money when we can't, and favors when both fail. He stood, stretched in that controlled way of a man who calculates calories, and walked to the door, then didn't open it. Two choices, Eli, he said without turning. We put you back on a corner with a sandwich and the name of a shelter that might take you in 6 weeks. You keep your head down and learn to pretend the shadow in your peripheral vision is nothing. Or we place you, room, phone, a stipend that keeps you from having to trade pieces of yourself to stay alive. In return, you agree to not go public with what you saw, and you answer our calls. Sounds like recruitment, I said. Sounds like harm reduction, he countered. For you and for the people you try to warn and the people who decide you were crazy. You write your story online, half the comments will be memes and the other half will be maps telling the things exactly where to find you. I thought of Marla telling me not to answer voices, and how the suit's voice sounded like the opposite of a trap because it admitted it was a trap. What about the police who saw me? I asked. Do I just disappear and make it look like I ran? You were never in custody, he said. You were interviewed and released. The report will say so. That's the nice thing about systems, you can write in a line that becomes true if enough people repeat it. Why help me? I asked. You could help anyone down there. We do, he said. Not enough. Not always in time. He looked as if he wanted to say more and had bitten his tongue on an old speech. But you have a trait we use. What trait? I asked, bracing for cruelty. You noticed, he said simply. You didn't pretend nothing was happening before it became everything. That means you can be taught. The rest of it comes back in cuts. A form with my name and date of birth and a box for allergies. A nurse, not a nurse, something like a nurse, taking a vial of blood and labeling it with a code instead of a name. A woman with a tactical ponytail giving me a phone and showing me the panic screen as if it were a Bible verse, hold the side button, press the volume down, wait for the vibration, and someone will be listening. A man in a cardigan that fought with his military haircut handing me a laptop and a binder with a fake resume tucked into the pocket like a permission slip. Somewhere in there they put the hood back on, not roughly, almost with manners. The walkout was shorter, the world on the other end had air that moved. The van again. The city again, but this time it was a different city because I wasn't walking in it. We turned into a hotel that had been expensive 15 years ago, the kind that still thinks fern plants in the lobby make people feel rich. The suits didn't escort me to the front desk, they walked me to an unmarked door off the service hallway and used a key that didn't belong to any chain on earth. Inside, quiet carpet, a bed with too many pillows, a note on the nightstand. I sat on the bed like it belonged to someone else and read. Eli. A room for 14 nights is booked in your name. No ID required at desk. The phone is activated. Do not change the number. The laptop will only browse through our tunnel. Don't try to make it something else. A stipend has been deposited. Amount will recur on the 1st of the month. You will be monitored. This is not a threat, it's an honesty. Don't go back to Mercury tonight. Sleep. H. The bathroom had a shower that felt like a rescue. I stood under it until the water went from luxury to punishment, then made myself stop. I found a plastic-wrapped toothbrush and the little shampoo bottles that pretend to be lemon. I used both like ritual. The first 3 mouthfuls of water felt like they went straight to my blood. When I crawled into the bed, my body didn't remember how to sleep somewhere soft. I kept expecting someone to knock and tell me I'd made a mistake. When sleep finally came, it came like a low tide, leaving me half-beached and surprised. Morning tastes different when you don't have to earn it before noon. I woke to a room that still had my outline in it. The phone blinked, one message from a number labeled Holbrook. 10:04 a.m. Eat. Don't read the comments. We'll be in touch. H. I laughed, then realized I didn't know whether it was a joke. The laptop booted to a blank desktop with an icon that looked like a keyhole. When I clicked it, a browser opened to a portal with boxes that had names I recognized from conspiracy videos and some I didn't. Most were grayed out. One wasn't, briefing, under Mercury incidents. I clicked. A page with 3 redacted paragraphs and a map shot of the overpass loaded. A line at the bottom said in plain text, avoid discussion in public channels. They follow noise. The phone had a banking app with a balance I had never seen attached to my name, enough to eat every day for months and still have something for a place where the lock is yours. A second app labeled check-in showed a single button. I didn't press it. I sat with the note again. You will be monitored. There are sentences you can read as kindness or cage depending on your heart rate. I decided to read it as both. I thought about going back to the encampment, about walking up to the police tape with a cup of coffee and asking the right questions the wrong way. I thought about Marla's voice saying dawn is your yes. I thought about how my feet already pointed toward Mercury even when I told myself to stay. I stayed. I ordered breakfast to the room and almost cried when the tray arrived because the server treated me like the kind of person who has a room in a hotel on purpose. I ate too fast and decided that was okay. By afternoon, I was bored enough to be a danger to myself, so I opened the binder. Inside, a cover identity that was just close enough to me to wear without tripping, address, a community college 2 bus lines away, a list of jobs I could plausibly get if someone asked and didn't follow up. At the back, a sheet I shouldn't have read, protocol, witness placement, level 1. The bullets were the same tone as the note. Stabilize housing and food first. Discourage heroic return to site for at least 72 hours. Encourage journaling if subject must externalize. Do not argue the reality of events, anchor with practicals. Monitor for contact from hostile or curious parties. If subject exhibits leak behavior, escalate to level 2. Leak behavior, I said to the empty room, and the room didn't laugh. I tried journaling and made it 3 lines before my handwriting turned into a shape I didn't recognize. I opened a new document and typed instead. There is an unspoken rule among the people who sleep under bridges. After midnight, you are not a witness. After midnight, you are furniture. After midnight, if you answer, something learns your name. I didn't know if I was writing this for myself, for Marla, for Holbrook, or for a future me who would call me a liar. The page didn't care. Someone knocked. 3 short, 2 long, the kind of pattern you pick so the night doesn't answer it by accident. I stood with my hand on the handle long enough to teach it my pulse. Then I opened the door. Mr. Holbrook stood there without his sunglasses, and I finally saw his eyes, tired, blue as an old bruise. He held a paper bag that smelled like coffee and bread. "Eat again," he said. "Body first, story after." He didn't step inside. He looked past me as if he could see the portal on the laptop. "A last thing," he said, tone almost conversational. "You asked why we told you anything." "Yeah," I said. "Because fear without a name makes people dangerous," he said. "And because it's not the only thing down there." He let that sit. He left before I could ask what else. The door closed with the soft click of a seal. The room held his words like a fridge holds smell. I set the coffee down on the nightstand. I didn't touch the laptop. I picked up the phone and opened a blank note. My fingers hesitated, then started to move. The coffee stopped shaking in my hand before my breathing did. I ate the roll Holbrook brought because food is a better decision maker than fear, then stood at the window and looked out over not much, a service alley, a HVAC unit, a sliver of sky the color of office paper. The phone chimed. Not a ringtone, more like a polite tap on the shoulder. An app one hadn't opened, check in, lit up a tiny red dot. I pressed it. A single question filled the screen. "Are you safe right now?" Yes, no. I stared at it long enough to realize it was a trap and a kindness. I pressed yes. The red dot went away. A second message arrived in notes. "Journal if you must. Do not post. They follow noise." I sat on the carpet and laughed because the message read like a superstition scrawled in marker on a stairwell wall, and also like policy. I typed anyway, 1 paragraph, then 10, because writing is how I keep from turning into a story someone else gets to tell. I changed names and streets as I went, like a person hanging sheets over mirrors. By late afternoon the room felt like it had learned all my angles. I took the elevator down to the lobby and walked a square around the hotel, just to feel the city without barbed wire around it. Holbrook's bag had contained a prepaid card along with the phone, another quiet choice disguised as charity, so I bought a notebook, pens, and a cheap baseball cap I didn't need. At a corner store I got flowers because someone needed them. "Back to Mercury, ***, the cashier said, reading me in 13 seconds. "Back to say a name," I said. "Good," she said, and didn't ask which name. "Take the long way. The short way is where people try to help you without asking." Afternoons under the overpass feel wrong, like a theater with the house lights up. The tarps sagged in the heat, laundry lines were stilled by the heaviness in the air. The cops had packed up their stage, tape gone, chalk washed, paperwork scattered to offices where boxes wait for their checkmarks. The blue tarps flapped like tired birds along the fence. I kept to the perimeter, half out of caution, half out of not wanting anyone to decide I was the wrong kind of witness. People recognized me without saying so. The glances were the same coin flipped different ways: pity, anger, "You're alive, and what are you going to do with that?" Marla's tent, the bruised sunflower, wasn't there. A rectangle of dirt darker than the rest of the ground marked where it had been, like a tan line. I laid the flowers on the dirt and said her name once, because names are small prayers when you use them correctly. I didn't make a speech. There are places where speeches are a kind of litter. You were with her, a voice rasped. I turned. Nate, the man from my first night, stood with a hand on the center pier like a sailor steadying himself. He'd shaved with something dull and lost a fight anyway. She was with me, I said. He nodded in that way people nod when they're editing their grief for the public version. Rule stands, he said. Sun goes down. You ain't seen. You ain't heard. You ain't here. A white pickup rolled through the entrance without slowing. Two men in coveralls hopped out, not cops, not suits, contractors with a logo that said they did remediation. They wordlessly loaded a crate with tent poles and 2 garbage bags that weren't garbage. A third man stood beside the truck reading a clipboard. He didn't look up. The work was fast, respectful in the way a cleanup is respectful when it has to be quiet to feel like kindness. They always come after, Nate said. Who? The ones who erase, he said. Then the ones who replace. He nodded toward a stack of fresh tarps and tent kits at the edge of the lot. Somebody always thinks new plastic will keep the night from being the night. I wanted to ask him a dozen questions about nights and names and who keeps count, but the air shifted, dogs picking up a frequency we pretend we can't hear. It wasn't sunset yet. Close enough to taste it. Go, kid, he said. You're shiny. The night watches the shine. I left the flowers and walked away because leaving is sometimes the only choice that doesn't translate as an invitation. Back in the room, I made a list that would have earned Marla's nod if she'd been the kind of person who needed to see her wisdom on paper. Rule 1, night is theirs. If you're outside after midnight, you're furniture, not witness. Rule 2, they follow noise, sound, speech, posts, panic. The algorithm under the city is older than whatever runs your feed. Rule 3, be still. The difference between asleep and pretending can be measured in breath. Rule 4, do not answer the night. Not your name, not your friends, not God unless he shows up with a badge you recognize. Rule 5, live anyway. Eat warm food when you can. Carry water. Learn the map that isn't printed, which blocks keep secrets, which corners pretend to. I added a 6th rule and drew a box around it. If you write like a locksmith, not a town crier. The phone tapped my shoulder again. Check in. Heads up, significant activity near Stormline 12. Avoid underpasses tonight. H. I typed back before I could talk myself out of it. People down there don't have app alerts. What do you send them? No response came. I imagined Holbrook's face, tired bruised blue eyes watching a dashboard light up with dots that meant presence and therefore risk. I imagined a room where someone had a whiteboard labeled community liaisons and a list of names like Nate and old Jacob and Marla, half of them crossed out. I turned the TV on for noise and then turned it back off because the noise felt like a beacon. I opened the laptop and stared at the portal's line, they follow noise, until the sentence started to look like it was written by an animal practicing cursive. I didn't go back to Mercury. I did the bravest thing I could think of, I stayed. Ate something beige and hot. Took a shower. Put on the baseball cap like a mask you buy at a drugstore. Around 11:40, the room got too quiet in that exact same staged way. The HVAC hummed a tone lower. The static lifted the hairs on my arm. The smell didn't arrive in full, it came diluted, like a memory of pennies washed in hotel citrus. But it was the same shape of smell. Which is how you learn Rule 7, it isn't just the street. I didn't move. I lay on the bed and listened to my heartbeat learn a new rhythm. Somewhere in the building a dog, service animal, or someone's companion smuggled in against policy, gave one small bark and then professional silence. A door down the hall closed softly the way people close doors when they've just negotiated with fear and won on a technicality. My phone lit with a silent banner. Hold still. Do not speak. It will pass. I stared at the text until my eyes watered. I held still. I didn't speak. It passed, if passing is what you call a cloud deciding another yard looks more interesting. Morning came late and bright and smug about it. I found a voicemail from Holbrook. His voice sounded like it had been awake too long. Good morning, Eli. Couple of follow-ups. 1. Thank you for not going back last night. 2. You asked what I meant by not the only thing down there. Paper rustled over the line. Subterranes are predictable in the way weather is predictable, you can map tendencies and still get drenched. But the worst thing, the one I can't put on a map, is us. Panic, rumor, lonely men with radios trying to be kings of a block, hobbyists with night vision scopes who think hunting something makes them holy, kids on message boards daring each other to open drains, copycats who drag people into the dark and then blame the dark. When the city gets loud, all the wrong heroes show up. He paused, and I heard a sip that sounded like coffee and resignation. You aren't a hero, he said. That's not the insult it sounds like. You're a person who notices and a person who can learn. That's rarer than you think. Keep noticing. Keep learning. Eat. He hung up without goodbye. It felt right. The day didn't need a bow on it. At noon I walked to a bus stop without a destination and watched the city pretend it doesn't have catacombs. People carried coffees and deadlines and children with dinosaur backpacks. A man with a leaf blower moved dust from one place to a slightly different place and seemed satisfied. I pulled out the notebook and wrote Marla at the top of a page, then Rufus, then the man with the pipe whose name I didn't know. I left space under each for a story I'd never get to hear. I wrote Nate and left that space blank on purpose, a promise that not everyone who meets the night has to end up in a past tense. A woman in a green coat sat beside me and pretended not to read the page. You making a list? She asked finally. A ledger, I said. Are you going to send it to someone? She asked. I'm going to remember it, I said. That works, she said, and stood when her bus arrived like she hadn't said a holy thing. Back in the room, I set the notebook next to the phone, the way you set two tools down beside a bolt you're about to try to turn. I opened the laptop, didn't open the portal, and wrote instead, carefully, like someone filing down a key so it will open one door and no others. I did not write where the camp is. I did not write how the contractors move. I wrote the rule as cleanly as I could, not as superstition but as mechanics' advice. After midnight, you aren't seen, you're counted. Make yourself hard to count. Night came again, as it does, undeserved and inevitable. I turned the lights off before it could turn them off for me. The HVAC learned my name and decided to leave me alone. When whatever breathes under cities exhaled, I knew enough to be a good piece of furniture. I let the dark pass like a train through a town that forgot to build a station. I kept my breath quiet and my body true to the bed. On the nightstand, the hotel pen clicked under my fingers, a small sound, but a sound I owned. The telescope of my memory pointed not at stars but at tarps, at a tent like a bruised sunflower, at a woman who said 3 rules and meant stay. The unspoken rule isn't really about monsters. It's about manners in a world that doesn't have any. Don't answer the dark when it wants to make you its story. Don't let it count you. Learn when to be loud and brave and when to be quiet and alive. Some nights the city still smells like pennies through the hotel citrus. Some nights the phone taps my shoulder and I press yes to a question that isn't really a question. Some mornings I carry flowers to dirt that remembers. I write names, and I don't post, and I eat, and I learn. And after midnight, I practice the only courtesy I owe the dark, I'm not seen. This is Netherloom. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next video.